So hello everyone. So this is the last. We've had 4 authors now come and read to you. This is the last of the sessions. So I'm really happy that we have Dosh Archer with us. So Dosh is a children's book writer and illustrator, and as you can tell, she's originally from Scotland. She now lives in Whitstable, so just down the road from you guys.
Actually,
and she writes her
Margate.
books. Okay, and writes her books from from there. She's going to read you a book from her latest series, which begins Detective Paw of the Law. So that came out a couple of years ago. It's a really nice story, and yes, take it away, Dosh.
Hi everybody, I'm sitting here in my little studio. I write the books and I illustrate them, so I have to have all my artwork and things around. And I'm going to read to you one of my books about Detective Paw of the Law, and you can see Detective Paw there, and you can also see his trusty assistant, Patrol Officer Prickles. Detective Paw works in Big City, and we're going to find out what situation he has had to deal with in this story, which is called The Case of Piggy's Bank. In the heart of Big City, Big City Police Headquarters, home to the Big City Police Force. This is where Detective Paw works with his assistant, Patrol Officer Prickles. Sharp-eyed and straight-talking, Detective Paw can outthink any criminal with his brilliant brain. Patrol Officer Prickles is brave and loyal and has all the latest police issue crime-fighting gadgets. He is always there to help Detective Paw. Together, they solve crime. That's what they both love doing, although it's not always easy. Chapter 1. It was early on Monday morning at Big City Police Headquarters. Detective Paw was just about to take a bite into his donut when his phone rang. And Detective Paw likes donuts with pink icing and sprinkles, the same as me. It was Patrol Officer Prickles. It's Patrol Officer Prickles here. There has been a robbery at Piggy's Bank. Can you get here as quickly as possible to solve the crime and find the robber? Secure the scene, Prickles, said Detective Paw. I am on my way. Detective Paw left his donut uneaten, grabbed his notebook and pencil for writing down clues and his magnifying glass for spotting clues, and leapt into his vintage mobile. He put the blue flashy light on the top and sped to the scene of the crime. When he arrived at the bank, he noticed there was a big, shiny, brand new pork power car with the license plate Piggy 1 parked right outside. Patrol Officer Prickles was waiting for him inside the bank. The scene is secure, sir, he said. Well done, Prickles, said Detective Paw. Let me know what you've got. Patrol Officer Prickles took out his latest police issue electronic notepad. I arrived at the scene of the crime at 9:04 a.m. I was responding to a call from Piggy, the bank manager. He called to say the bank had been broken into. I noticed the following things. 1. The side window was broken. 2. There was a crowbar on the floor. 2. The safe door was open. There was a crowbar on the floor and the safe was empty. Well done, Prickles, said Detective Paw. Good work. Piggy, the bank manager, rolled his eyes. I was the first one here this morning. Someone must have smashed the window, jumped in, broken open the safe, and made off with the money. Piggy made his eyes go wide. It must have been a big, scary robber, said Piggy. The rest of the staff gathered around the empty safe. There was Dorothea, the cashier, and Stanley, the security guard. Dorothea, the cashier, gasped. Mrs. Battersby's life savings. Poor old lady, she's 101. She was in the bank last thing on Friday. She came in and left her life savings in our care, and now every single penny is gone. Poor Mrs. Battersby, said Stanley, the security guard. She's a friend of my mum. She's a real nice lady. I don't know how this could have happened. Stanley is thinking of Mrs. Battersby, and we can see, poor Mrs. Battersby. That's awful to have all your money stolen. Detective Paw twiddled his moustache and popped a peppermint into his mouth to help him think. Everyone calm down, he said. I will get to the bottom of this. Chapter 2. Detective Paw went over to the broken window and looked at the pavement outside. He took out his notebook and pencil and made some notes. He said. That sure is interesting for my investigation. Patrol Officer Prickles took some photographs of the window with his latest police issue camera. He looked at the photos and scratched his head. What can it all mean? He asked Detective Paw. Detective Paw twiddled his moustache. The broken glass from the window is lying outside on the pavement. That means the window was broken from the inside and not the outside. He turned around to speak to everyone. The evidence shows whoever did this was perfectly able to get into the bank without having to break in at all. There was a long silence and a lot of uncomfortable looks. Who has the keys to the bank? Asked Detective Paw. Why, we all do, cried Dorothea. Then that means, said Detective Paw, the person who stole the money is in this room. But we're all good people, cried Dorothea. With all due respect, ma'am, said Detective Paw, that remains to be seen. Chapter 3. I will need to speak with each one of you and find out where you were this weekend, said Detective Paw. Dorothea, the cashier, I will start with you. I was at a spelling bee all weekend, said Dorothea. I came in second place. I didn't know how to spell bumfuzzle. 'Tis quite a difficult word, bumfuzzle. I hope you have learned how to spell it now, said Detective Paw. Yes, sir, said Dorothea. I went straight home on Friday night, said Stanley, to my room to work on my model aeroplane. I live with my mum. She'll tell you it's true. She kept bringing me hot chocolate. I took all weekend to build it. It's nearly finished. He pulled out his phone and showed Detective Paw a photograph of his model P-65 Thunderblast. Detective Paw fixed his gaze on Piggy. What did you do this weekend? He asked him. Piggy rolled his eyes and pulled out a peanut butter cup from his pocket and munched on it. He mumbled something, and some crumbs fell out of his mouth and onto the floor. It's very rude to speak with your mouth full, said Detective Paw, and you haven't answered my question. What did you do this weekend? I went flying, said Piggy, finishing off the peanut butter cup and licking his lips, in my new airplane. A real airplane, that is, not a model one. Gosh, said Stanley, a real airplane. Wow. Detective Paw scratched his head. Patrol Officer Prickles and I need to talk, he said. I want everyone to go in the other room. They all went into the other room. Said Detective Paw. One of them is lying, but which one? This is a 2 peppermint problem. Detective Paw popped another peppermint into his mouth to help him think extra hard. After he'd thought extra hard, he said, that Piggy seems a bit too big for his boots. I have a feeling there is something else we need to discover. Right, said Patrol Officer Prickles. Detective Paw started looking around the room again with his magnifying glass. Patrol Officer Prickles took out his latest police issue superpowered flashlight and looked under the rug and in all the dark corners. He could see very well using the flashlight, but he didn't find any clues. Aha, said Detective Paw. Look, Prickles, marks on the safe door, but no marks on the safe lock. Detective Paw looked even more closely at the lock through his magnifying glass. That means, said Detective Paw, that this safe was opened. Someone left that crowbar on the floor to make us think it was broken into. Whoever did this knows the secret combination. Patrol Officer Prickles took a photograph of the safe lock with his latest police issue camera for evidence. Wait a minute, said Detective Paw, taking out his magnifying glass. He had spotted something else, some teeny tiny stuff just inside the safe. What could it be? Look at this, Prickles, said Detective Paw. I think this could be our most important clue yet. Chapter 4. What is it? Asked Patrol Officer Prickles. Crumbs, said Detective Paw, from a peanut butter cup. Prickles, said Detective Paw, opening his notebook. Let's go over everything we know so far. 1. The window and safe were not broken into. Whoever did this has keys to the bank and the combination number for the safe. 2. A lot of money was stolen and Piggy has a new aeroplane and a new car. 3. I found peanut butter cup crumbs inside the safe and Piggy eats. Peanut butter cups, said Patrol Officer Prickles. Exactly, said Detective Paw. I think I know who our criminal is. Let's get them all back in. Everyone stood in front of Detective Paw and Patrol Officer Prickles. Detective Paw pointed to the safe. Is it true that you, Piggy, are the only one, being the very important manager of this bank, the head person, the only one who has the combination number to the safe? Piggy puffed up his chest. He loved feeling important. Why, yes, he said, I am a very important person. Detective Paw gave Piggy a very hard stare. Then can you explain why the safe was opened and not broken into? And why I found peanut butter cup crumbs inside the safe, and how you've been able to buy a brand new car and an airplane? Piggy clamped his trotters over his mouth as he realised he had been rumbled. He leapt up and made a dash out the door towards his car with Patrol Officer Prickles in hot pursuit. Piggy was fast, but Patrol Officer Prickles was faster. "Quick, Prickles," shouted Detective Paw. "Don't let him get to his car or we'll lose him." Piggy grabbed his car door handle, but Patrol Officer Prickles lunged and caught Piggy by the back trotters and brought him down. Piggy wriggled and jiggled, but Patrol Officer Prickles was wearing his latest issue Police EXZ strong grip gloves, and Piggy could not escape. "Good work, Prickles," said Detective Paw. He took hold of Piggy and marched him back to the bank, so fast that his trotters didn't even touch the ground. "We know it was you," said Detective Paw. "But why, Piggy, why?" cried Dorothea. "I'm bumfuzzled. You have enough money. You're the manager of a bank. We all trusted you. Mrs. Battersby trusted you, and she is 101 years old." Piggy sneered. "You can never have enough money, but none of you would understand that. I was fed up with just one house and one car and one swimming pool. I wanted more. I got a new port power car and an airplane and a mansion and a flat screen television and a lifetime supply of peanut butter cups, and I could have gotten away with it if it wasn't for these two troublesome cops." He glared at Detective Paw and Patrol Officer Prickles. "So there was no robber?" asked Stanley. "No, Stanley," said Detective Paw. "Piggy stayed behind on Friday after you left. First, he smashed the window to make it look like someone had broken in. Then he used the crowbar to bash the safe to make it look like it had been broken open. As well as being a greedy thief, Piggy here is also a liar. And there he is with all the money, all of Mrs. Battersby's money that he stole from the safe." Detective Paw turned to Piggy. "It is very bad," said Detective Paw, "to steal when you're meant to be looking after people's money. And it is extremely bad to tell lies. You're a very greedy Piggy, and now your lies have caught you out." Patrol Officer Prickles clamped a pair of the latest police issue EXZ steel handcuffs on Piggy. "Try getting out of those," he said. Outside the bank, a crowd had gathered. They had seen the police car and heard all the money had been stolen from the bank. When Patrol Officer Prickles marched Piggy outside, Mrs. Battersby pushed her way to the front and shook her finger at Piggy. "How dare you?" she said. "Now you will get what you deserve." "Yes, he will, ma'am," said Detective Paw, "and you will get every penny of your money back." Then Patrol Officer Prickles bundled Piggy into his latest police issue arrestor car. Back at Big City Police Headquarters, Piggy was put behind bars. "Good work," said Patrol Officer Prickles. "I couldn't have done it without you," said Detective Paw. Detective Paw had a cup of coffee and finished his donut. And you can see Detective Paw's cup of coffee there, and that's Detective Paw's special mug, and it says, "Crime never pays." Patrol Officer Prickles had a strawberry almond milkshake and a banana. It had been a difficult case, but together they cracked it. And Big City was that little bit safer, thanks to Patrol Officer Prickles and Detective Paw. And that's their cars. Patrol Officer Prickles' car and Detective Paw's vintage mobile. Thank you for listening. If anybody would like to ask any questions, you're very welcome.